whole lot of this turned into a table like this. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm super excited to share this story with you about this build, but as well the table itself. This table was made from reclaimed wood from a family home, and I was commissioned to build this table and bench for their son as a wedding gift. Now these were salvage floor joists, so they were pretty straight, but they were full of nails. I did miss one of the nails, which took a pretty decent chunk out of one of the knives in my joiner. Taking my time with this really paid off to make sure everything was as square as possible, and I couldn't believe how clean all the lumber came out after it was milled the first time through. I came back a few days later after the wood had acclimated a little more to my shop, and I cut everything down to its final width. And this step sure paid off and made it a lot easier of a glue up. To help with alignment and of course strength, I did use my Festool domino to join the tabletop as well as the bench. My wife and my two younger kids were away the weekend that I glued up the tabletop and the benches. So my oldest son had decided to stay home that weekend, and it was just such a cool weekend of working in the garage with him and watching lots of Marvel movies. Now I messed up a little bit on the glue up, and I mean that in the sense that I didn't film most of it. We were doing this in the sun and the glue was drying pretty quickly, so we were just super focused on getting everything straight and aligned. I did use call boards along the ends just to make sure that we were as straight and true as possible, and of course I got a sweet slider shot of that. With the glue dry, we could scrape off any squeeze out and trim the tabletop to final length. To add additional strength to the table, I did route in and install a C-channel in the middle of the table. The table was about 40 inches wide, so I wanted to make sure it was as strong as possible. With the oversized holes drilled into my metal C-channel, I went back and routed out a groove in the bottom side of the table that it would insert into. I used a self-centering drill bit as well as the C-channel to make sure I had all the holes in the right spots for the threaded inserts. There was a lot of imperfections in this wood, so I used Total Boat 2-part epoxy tinted black to be able to fill those voids. And if you're doing this, I don't suggest doing it in the wind, but hey, it still worked. I always suggest using tuck tape and filling any voids and imperfections from the bottom side of a tabletop or whatever you're working on. The reason you do that is the tape becomes a dam, so you don't have any epoxy leaking all the way through your table. Did I mention that there was a lot of imperfections? I went back 3 or 4 times between sanding to make sure that I had filled all the voids and imperfections I could with the epoxy. And with that done, I was able to add the threaded inserts that would hold the legs in place. Now these aren't your off-the-shelf trapezoid leg. These legs were custom built by a welder out of the States, and they're made out of stainless steel. They're going to last a long time, and I'll put a link below to the website where the client found them, just so you can check them out for yourself. So I'm getting into my second year of making videos for YouTube, and I'm having so much fun. I've met so many amazing people. I'd love to see you subscribe or hit that like button if you do like this table build, just so YouTube knows that this is something that it should be sharing with other people that are watching similar videos to you. At this point, I was ready to move on to trimming the bench down to its final length, sanding off any of the imperfections, and installing the threaded inserts for the legs of the bench. So with a perfectly good table and benches built, it was time to set it on fire. Now, if you're not familiar with this method of finishing wood, it's called Shou Sugi, and it's a way that you preserve the wood by torching the surface and then scraping back any of the ash. This is an amazing way to transform what could be a boring, typical tabletop into something that has so much character and life. I finished this table with several coats of a water-based polyurethane, sanding between each coat. And with the finishing done, I was able to reattach the legs, and this project was done. Not to sound super corny, but my story with this table and benches was done, and I couldn't be more happy with how it turned out. But the story of the bench and the table and its life with this new family is just beginning. It's so humble for me to have been asked to build this table and to be able to have been trusted with this material that has such an amazing story. As always, I super appreciate you guys checking out these videos and coming along and being part of my story. If you want to check out some of the other videos I've done, I've queued a couple up for you right here.